again 3 days later, and he took one look at her face and knew something was wrong, and he was not a man easily put off. "Tell me," he said. "It's nothing that concerns you." Margaret. It was the first time he had used her Christian name, and it landed with more weight than she expected. "My uncle came here. I know that much. His coachman doesn't lie half so well as he thinks. What did he say to you?" She weighed silence against honesty, and honesty won, because she was tired, suddenly, of managing everyone's comfort but her own. She told him the doves, the threat about the books, the cold suggestion of scrutiny that could ruin a small workshop faster than any direct attack. Weatherby's jaw tightened in a way that changed his whole face, stripped the easy charm from it, and left something harder and more serious beneath. "That's not concern for propriety. That's a warning to stay away from you dressed up as concern for propriety. Whatever it is, it worked. Your uncle holds the largest commission this workshop has seen in 3 years, and he made it very clear he could see it withdrawn, and worse than withdrawn, if he judged the association between us unsuitable. My father's whole livelihood depends on your uncle's good opinion. I won't be the reason that's lost. And if I told you, I don't care what my uncle judges suitable, then I'd tell you that's easy to say for a man who isn't the one who'll starve if it turns out he was wrong." She said it without cruelty, but with the flat certainty of someone who had done the arithmetic of survival many times before and knew exactly what it cost when it went badly. Weatherby was silent for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice had lost its performance entirely. "My uncle is not a cruel man by nature, Margaret. He's a frightened one. The estate is mortgaged more heavily than anyone outside the family knows. Eleanor Prescott's fortune isn't a preference, it's a rescue. He has spent years making decisions to keep Ashworth Hall standing, and every one of them has cost him something he didn't want to give up. And I think somewhere along the way he stopped being able to tell the difference between protecting the family and simply protecting himself from ever having to feel that cost again." He shook his head. "That doesn't excuse what he said to you, but I'd rather you understand what you're up against than think it's simple malice. Simple malice you could outmaneuver. Fear dressed as duty is harder to fight." Margaret found, unwillingly, that this moved her more than anger would have. It was the first time Weatherby had spoken of his uncle without either deference or dismissal, and it told her something about him she hadn't expected, that beneath the charm was a man capable of seeing people clearly, including the people who frightened him. "What will you do?" she asked. "I don't know yet, but I won't let him use my engagement to Eleanor as a cudgel against your family's survival. That's not a bargain I agreed to make." The fortnight passed in tension. Thomas worked with a grim, silent focus that worried Margaret more than his earlier weariness had, and she took on more and more of the delicate leadwork herself, staying late into the evenings after her father had gone home to rest his failing eyes. The doves were removed, replaced with the correct heraldry, though Margaret noticed her father's hand trembled more than usual as he reworked the pane, and she said nothing about it, because there was nothing to say that would not frighten them both further. Weatherby did not visit the workshop again during those 2 weeks. Margaret told herself this was for the best, and told herself so often that she nearly believed it. In the days after the Earl's visit, Margaret watched her father in a way she had not allowed herself to before, not as a daughter watches a parent out of habit, but as an apprentice watches a master whose hands are beginning to fail. He held the soldering iron a fraction too long over each joint, correcting with a carefulness that had not been necessary 2 years ago. He asked her twice, on separate mornings, whether a particular shade of blue in the border glass was true, when the shade had not changed since the order arrived from the merchant on Corn Street. She began, without telling him, rising an hour before dawn to inspect the previous evening's work by fresh daylight, so that if any error had crept in under his dimming eye,